tuning into the BOP, the Blerd official podcast. We are so happy you're here. Oh my gosh, let me introduce my co-host, Mr. Blerd Khan himself, Hilton George. How are you?
Oh man, it's been a long week. Where y'all been?
I know.
Listen, y'all, I ain't seen y'all in a week. Y'all ain't nobody come by. I had tea and some and crumpets, and nobody came by. And I had to throw them out.
Oh, well, we're here now. We are here now. Sorry for the wait. Oh, I know the week is long. When we wait a whole week, it is long. I have so much to talk to you guys about. And guys, we have Harry Potter, the hippest Harry Potter, Miss Gryffindor herself, Miss Christi Renee.
You picked the right house. Absolutely. Yeah.
I know the Harry Potter houses. I know. I did the test. I'm Gryffindor myself. How are you, Christy?
I am fantastic. I'm happy to be here. You're right. It's been a long week. It seems like it's a month of Sundays that we last joined, and now we're here, and I'm ready to jump into whatever it is you have for us, whether I know the answers or not.
Oh, well, it's okay. Yeah, we are all here. I know. I think I'm like one of those people who I know a lot of nonsense. Like I know a lot of like information that isn't necessary to anything, but my life. It's just
you absolutely cannot.
Useless information.
My brain is a fountain of useless trivia.
Yes, and I'm proud of that. I'm so proud of it. I love it. You know what? This is the thing. My turtleneck is like very high today. I was like, what is happening here? Oh, anyways, guys, I was thrown off this week. We got some devastating news, at least in my opinion, devastating news from the nerd. Who are we? The Nerd Society of the world. That is who we are. Guys, the Duffel brothers released a letter saying that Stranger Things, we're going to get season 4. We're going to get 2 parts of season 4, but season 4 is the start to the end for Stranger Things. Oh man. So season 5 will be the 5th and final season.
Oh wow.
Guys, I went into a depression. I mean, first of all, we've been waiting like 2 years for this show to come back.
It is.
We've been waiting 100 years to get Stranger Things back. So it's finally going to come back. It'll premiere this year, and we're going to get, 2 parts. I think the first part is in March or May. I can't remember. And then the next part is going to be in July. Oh, wow. And then we'll get a 5th and final season.
Oh, okay.
Guys. Were you guys as upset about it as I was? So we have season 4 and season 5 coming up, but still, it's the beginning to the end.
I know.
Like,
I think it's time. It's time. It's time.
Oh.
All the kids are in their 30s. They're trying to start families.
I know. Millie Bobby Brown turned 18. She turned 18 recently, and I was like, whoa. She was like 10 when she started, right?
Right, like how long can we? I mean,
I
things are getting less and less strange.
I love it.
They're like they'd be called like strange-ish things, or
like
things that are slightly off-putting, and then it just started to kind of tumble down. And I mean, as much as we in the Black community like to rag on Seinfeld and Friends and stuff, I gotta say that Seinfeld did it right. Is that they kind of ended on the high note. They didn't wait until they jumped the shark. And started to lose ratings and everything, and end on that high note. And so, for me, it means it's more likely they're going to do it right, and they're going to make it important, and it's going to launch these guys' individual careers. There might even be spinoffs. I mean, Stranger Things itself is a universe. There's a lot of characters in there, and there's a whole town.
Netflix would be smart. They would be smart to spin something off. I mean, it's just crazy to me because, like I said, they had said, it's been 7 years, and they always knew that it was about 5 seasons long. They actually thought it was about 4 seasons long, and they said, and then the world kind of exploded, and we were, it kind of went over into 5 seasons, but we always knew there was a beginning, a middle, and an end for us. And we appreciate the fans. But I'm telling you, I went into the type of depression that I literally watched season 1, 2, and 3 all over again.
It's an amazing series. It's an amazing series. I've always loved it as a horror fan, a sci-fi fantasy fan.
Yes.
It's got all the elements of horror, and it smells like the love child. It feels like the love child between Steven Spielberg and Stephen King.
Yes.
Because you have that Stand By Me, gathering of friends, and then you also have, this, what do you call it? The big bad character that the town is kind of haunted, but nobody really knows how or why, and something's up, and it's up to the kids to save us. Like that's StephenKing and Steven Spielberg all day,
all over
and
again.
And I just
kind
love
of like the Goonies. It's like all of those things. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Got that feel. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's one of those shows that I really gave it credit because, like you said, for someone like me who wasn't a huge sci-fi fan. I love sci-fi, but I'm not like a diehard. It really brought me into that world. I really got lost. Yeah.
Those kids were phenomenal. They just are. They have won the hearts. I mean, I have loved watching them grow up. I mean, what's Gaitlin's name? His show. Golly. That's why I got to go back and rewatch it. I've watched 1 and 2 twice, and then I need to watch 3 again. Dustin. I just that kid there. Well, he has a remarkable story too. Just in real life, with the whole thing with his teeth, and just incredible. Just great kids, and I follow all of them on social media. So it's like keep watching them grow up. It's hysterical because I'm like, oh, these babies need to go in a chamber somewhere and stay young because we need some more seasons. Like
there could be only one Emmanuel Lewis per century.
Right.
Everybody else has to grow up.
We had no idea Emmanuel Lewis was as grown as he was. We had no idea. But it's totally true. Like, Millie, all of them, like I said, she just turned 18 years old. And I was like, almost fell out of my chair when I saw that. Cause I'm like, what? 18? Like, and it's funny, if you go back and watch it, you'll die because they are babies in season 1.
Yeah.
And it's just taken 7 years. And a kid, I don't have kids, but I have nieces and nephews. And trust me, 7 years, you got 2 totally different kids.
Yeah.
And so now they are full grown teenagers. They're high schoolers. They're out of school. It's like they are a different kid. But I was almost excited about that because I wanted to see them. I wanted at least a season, and maybe we'll get that in season 5, where they're not in high school or they're not in, they're not in school. It's more of they're kind of more of an adult and they're trying to figure out their life. And then all these strange things keep happening. But you're right. I think it
has to come to an end.
But I think, but I don't want it to. I'm that person who never wants anything to end. I never want the party to end.
Listen, Karen, I know why you fell in love with this series, and you haven't said it, but I'm going to say it here.
Tell me.
That's just kind of how a relationship we have, is that this is an 80s throwback period piece series.
Yeah.
Because the 80s are as much a character in the show as any of the
music,
characters. The cars, the music,
video
those shots in the mall.
Yes.
And the stores from the mall, and the clothes, like the wardrobe.
The neon lights, the neon colors.
Oh my gosh.
No, they did an excellent job. It was almost like that. You're right. They had the main kids. They had the 80s. They had all the nostalgia. Like every single thing is correct. Every single thing hit all the right spots. So I mean, but you know what? This is not the only show that's ending. Like they released the Jurassic Park trailer this week. Yep. And it's the final, installment is according to them. If it's a huge hit, they'll figure out a way to put another one out. But they at least said, this is Jurassic World trailer. This is the final one, at least probably with Chris Pratt and all them. But what I loved was seeing the original actors from Jurassic Park 1. I was like, why did it take them so long?
Everybody's back.
I got the feels. I got the chills and the feels. I don't know. How did you feel, Christy?
Are the kids back? Are the kids back in that trailer?
They didn't show the kids. They just showed the 3 adults, the 2 doctors, and they showed the three adults.
We got to find those
kids. This is a franchise that now for me, I was never a kid that grew up fantasizing about dinosaurs. I was weird. I was into robots and giants and stuff. So it doesn't really hit that part of my childhood DNA. I just love the fact that it was such a well-written and well-designed and revolutionary as far as special effects type of movie.
Yeah.
You know, this was the first movie where we saw dinosaurs not in stop motion, you know, so it really kind of ushered in, you know, that mixture of giant, you know, to scale marionette robotic dinosaurs, as well as the CGI. And so that revolutionary piece of it is great. And it's just a great movie, and with great actors. Like Jeff Goldblum is my favorite.
Oh my gosh, Jeff Goldblum.
Everything he does, everything he does. He's just the weirdest, coolest cat in every film. Even when he's clueless, he's just, you know, a perfect actor in every way. And so it's just great to watch it. Now, that's what I'm more excited about than, you know, the ending, is that they're bringing the fact that they're bringing the old guard back. Is going to be as worthy of watching as any of the special effects that they're going to have. So I'm excited for that alone.
Well, I've always said the best thing when you do a final, or you do something, like, you have to give the fans what they want. You have to tap into that original nostalgia. And that first movie, for me, I remember watching it in the theater, and I remember, like, I too wasn't a person who was in love with dinosaurs. I could care less. But the special effects in this movie, those two little kids in that kitchen getting chased. I mean, it was like the best. Like, I mean, the intensity, the acting, the everything about it was everything for me. So I fell in love with that, you know, with the franchise. And so for me, it's like, if you're going to call it the final, then you got to give us what we want, which is we got to have that original crew and just tap into the nostalgia. Like, I always feel like when they do that, they do it right. You're almost doing it for the fans. It's bigger than just a final movie, final box office numbers. And it was great. I got all the chills and the feels.
It's another one of those that, yes, we will be getting out of the bubble and going into the theater to see, just like I did for Spider-Man. So
exactly.
I'm going to have my mask, my shield, I'm not going to eat popcorn. I can't drink. I got to eat and drink before I come, so that it never comes off. Oh, it's
it's worth it. It's going to be worth it.
It'll be worth it.
There's something so powerful about bringing back originals. You know, when you've moved on 20 years, but when those people are still alive and kicking and can be seen on camera, just like in Coming to America 2. Like, how great was that? Too? I know we ain't even touched on that.
Let's talk about it, because Coming to America 2, that was probably the best part.
Well, we need just for that alone. But that was, I mean, just to be able to, the only person that was missing out of the entire film was the sister. I don't know where she is, but she is Patrice somewhere. But the point, you know, even for James Earl Jones to still be with us and to make his presence known, and then be at his own funeral, which was hilarious. Spoiler alert.
It's been out for a long time. It's fine.
I'm sorry. I don't have a lot of pity for I just turn off, just tune out, just mute. But so it's so powerful, though. It just does something for those. And that's what I love. A lot of people wanted to complain, and it's like, oh, that's because you didn't grow up really on, like I did with the Jurassic Park, or at least raising the kids on that. And, you know, when you're a parent and you got to go to these movies with your little ones, you become just as much a fan as, you know, I'm sure there's parents out there now taking their kids go see Baby Shark or whoever it is.
Whatever's out right now.
As annoying as it is.
Not Baby Shark.
I would imagine.
But that's how we feel. Just why, look, again, I'm wearing a Harry Potter tie. Listen, because we have grown up with that stuff. And the new, I'm sorry, this is a real quick pivot, but I just saw a special post that Dumbledore, good Lord, I'm forgetting everybody. You and Jude Law. Sorry, Jude Law just did this special post, and he's talking about the upcoming Fantastic Beasts. But I saw the words Harry Potter, and I got so distracted, I didn't even get a chance to go back. And I was like, see, I keep telling the kids, this is why I'm not done. I need to see Harry Potter come back. Daniel Radcliffe has to come back, and everybody else. They gotta have a part in Fantastic Beasts.
This is a prequel.
I'm not done.
Yeah, I know, but this is a prequel, so he can't
he's
come
way
back.
Young. He's not even born yet.
He would
like,
be
I
like,
get it.
yeah, he's not even born yet.
She don't care. She want him there regardless.
It's magic.
It's a
It's
multiverse.
magic. They can bring Harry into the magical world of Harry Potter. I know.
Strange do the thing and get him to come through like he did.
Doctor Strange will come in.
After 7 films, that's how good it is. So now that we've gone back in history with the whole Fantastic Beasts part, like, I'm not done. Harry Potter's supposed to take over as the new headmaster, now that Dumbledore's gone.
Okay.
I'm still thinking 20 years down the line. Like, I'm like, it's something so powerful. It keeps you going.
I'm sure, though, because go ahead, Hilton.
No, I was going to say that the Harry Potter universe is one of those ones that's going to, persist, like the Star Wars
go on
universe,
forever,
or the Star Trek universe. There's always going to be some iteration where you can insert, some of the nostalgia even into new stories. So I think you may get your wish. It may not be in this movie, but there may be
not in
series,
not in this movie.
But I understand you want the genre and the series and the stories to live on long enough for us to see, our favorite characters as adults, moving into these adult roles.
Yeah.
And so I think you'll get your wish. Just maybe not right away.
I wonder though, like, you think about, I saw that reunion they had with Harry Potter and all of the original cast, and it seems like they, they would entertain it. I think if it was the right story, the right script, they probably would entertain it. But they seem like they're kind of like, think about it. You start at, like, I don't know how old they were, like 8, 9 years old, and then they did it until they were almost like 18. Like, it's almost like the same story as Stranger Things, but they just did these huge movies. It's almost like you've been there, done that, and you're at a point where you're like, I kind of want to do something else, because Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe, let me call him by his name.
Right.
He's gone on and he's done movies, he's done Broadway. He's got a really cool movie coming out, and it's like he's kind of done it all, and he's just kind of doing the projects he wants to do when he wants to do them. He seems like he's
some
very
tea on your boy. Get some tea on your boy is that he may be making a cameo as one of the mutants coming through in Multiverse of Madness. So there have been some little strategic, egg drops happening throughout the Nerdverse that he is going to be playing Wolverine.
If he comes out as Wolverine, I will die a death right here.
I think
right
he could
here,
do it. I think
right
he could do
now.
I think he would probably
could
be the most comic accurate, because Daniel Radcliffe is not a tall man. He's like 5'7", 5'6".
Yeah, he's short.
And in the comics, Wolverine's a shorty. He's about 5'1", 5'2". And so with this tall, lean, statuesque, version of, Wolverine that we have gotten up till now, with Hugh Jackman was great for movies, but the comic book fans like, not quite the same guy. So he could do it. I think he could pull it off. He throws on maybe 20 pounds of muscle and kind of lets that scruff start coming in.
Yeah.
We might not recognize him.
Yeah.
So they are bringing in, and not to pivot too hard, but they are talking about bringing in finally the mutants into the MCU. With the Multiverse of Madness, a la Doctor Strange coming through this spring. So we're going to be seeing, you might get to see Harry Potter killing people. He might cut a brother. My
little Blerd heart will explode. I love a killer.
Oh my Lord.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but you know what? I would love that because it's completely different from Harry Potter. It would be such an awesome character as an actor. You want to be something completely different. You want to be something unexpected. And he's really good. He's a really underrated actor. We know him as a kid, but we don't know him. He hasn't had just, I think he's still got that huge hit that's coming, and that could be the one where we see him in a whole new light and we're just like blown away. I know. Gosh, that would be great.
Harry Potter, man. You can't, we don't go wrong with that one. So
can't
wait.
So to pivot to something else, actually, Hilton, you inspired this next topic because I've been watching your post for BlerdCon all month for Black History Month, and you've been doing, you've been doing Black cosplayers, and each day we're getting a new sensationally talented cosplayer.
Awesome.
And it still makes me wonder, because I'm at a Comic-Con almost every weekend. And when you look at the attendance of most of the shows, I mean, it's like, I don't understand, as a community, we're a very low percentage of people that go to cons, who cosplay, who go all out. The numbers have grown, obviously, in the 13 years I've been doing Comic-Cons, but it's still so low. And when I'm looking at all these cosplayers, like, they're so talented. What do we think is the reason that, as a Black community, why we aren't just living our best life? Because I love the Comic-Con circuit, because for me, it's one of the places where the weirder you are, the cooler you are.
Right.
So what that sets up is that everybody is welcome. You come and you just have a good time. There's no judgment. There's just fun. People are just having a great time. And as a community, I feel like this is exactly what we need. We need a safe place to come out and have fun and forget about all the things that we deal with in life. Hilton, I'll go to you first, because you and I go to cons probably as equally as much. You were just at a con this past weekend, I think. I saw pictures. But what do you think? Why do you think we still, as a Black community, or even people of color, why the numbers are so low for us, and why we aren't taking advantage of this mecca of fun?
Well, I think there's several reasons. I think you got the people who are inside the con going community. If you talk about Black people specifically, there's a lot of us that go to cons and then maybe don't feel as comfortable, putting ourselves out there with our best cosplay efforts. And then there are Black people who are nerds, who are outside of the con space, who don't go to cons at all, or maybe not even aware of all the conventions happening in the region.
It's still
who
so
would
new
be
to
great
them.
cosplayers, but are not participating. And I think there's two hurdles to that.
Okay.
On one, I think this kind of goes to the, kind of the unique nature of Blerddom, especially when it comes to cosplay. The relationship between the Black community and the nerds within it is a barrier that we are working to overcome. We have not yet, as a people, as a community, embraced being weird, embraced being different, embraced, the comic nerd and cosplay and all that. It's getting better, but you go back, if you just count back 5-year increments and kind of look at, who are the people who are out there wearing cosplay at cons? If you're looking at the Black community, you start to see the numbers are increasing exponentially, and mostly from the young people who are coming in, 17, 18, 19, who are now in their 20s and all that.
And they're into
so
it
that's
all.
Yeah, so that's one barrier. The second is that, conventions in the nerd space is fairly insular. If you're not somebody who is following cosplayers or a member of cosplay groups on social media, you're not even in the circulatory system of the news and information of what's going on. And, you may get, a pop culture convention on your calendar because it was on the news or it was in a newspaper. And you don't have to necessarily see yourself as a member of the tribe in order to attend. And that's why you'll see a Comic-Con like Awesome Con or the Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con as pop culture events, having hundreds of thousands of people go. But then you go to like an anime con or a gaming con that's a little more niche-y, and they're in the 20s and 30s, and that's the reason why. So for us, we face these hurdles of internal discrimination, and then there's the external discrimination that comes along because we're just now starting to get more characters that look like us. When I started cosplaying,
there it is.
So
that's exactly where I thought.
When you step outside and you're wearing a Superman cosplay, somebody is going to say either under their breath or online,
oh my gosh,
when you post your pictures, well, Superman's not Black, and why is this guy wearing, Superman cosplay? And the cosplay community has got to step out of its gatekeeping, out of its homophobia, xenophobia, racism that comes with all, because the con community is made up of the wider community of America. So there's going to be pieces of that in it. And say, you know what, the cosplay, the act of cosplay is not about depicting accurately the characters that you love. It's about expressing your fandom for those characters and how much you love them and the fandom that they represent and the worlds that they are built around. And you can put your own little stamp on it. You know, you've probably seen some people who are like, do something with like Wakanda and, you know, something with Star Wars and do a mashup with it.
You know what?
You know what I mean?
It was one of those things. Yeah, it's almost like the more, you know, inclusive, or the more like these films start including us, it almost seemed to spark just from watching it from outside looking in, it seemed to spark, you know, where we came out in droves. When Black Panther came out, we came out in droves. We had 20 characters we could cosplay as, you know, within that one movie. When Miles Morales came out, people all of a sudden, you know, Miles Morales was a huge character for people to do. And it's almost like the cosplay community, in my opinion, depicts what Hollywood is doing. You know, it almost depicts what we're, you know, the characters that we're able to see, or that we're able to, you know, it's almost like seeing yourself, and, you know, you see yourself in these characters, so therefore you're almost inspired to do them. I don't know. Absolutely. I mean, what are your thoughts, Christy? Because that was my thought of why we don't come out in droves, is because we're not really represented in, you know, we're not represented in these stories. So it's almost like, you know, I don't know. But Christy, what do you think?
I agree with both of you. You make incredible points, and to piggyback off of one of something Hilton just touched on is that it's psychological. When you are automatically living in a world in space and time, and you're already different, you're born different, so society says. And so when we have been living through times where it's like we're freaks of nature, the last thing you want to do is go be even more weird or different. And again, this is what society has put on. And so when you are just kind of living in that space, it's like, you know, not a lot of people, I feel like I'm a weirdo because I'm a Black person that loves me some Halloween. if Halloween could be 12 months out of the year, sign me up for all 13. Like it is, it's a big deal. But I get it. I understand when a lot of people will be like, that's for them. You know, that. Well, that's because of the trauma that has been, you know, again, and starting with Hollywood, when you have films like, and again, this is interweaving a lot of things, but when you have films like Birth of a Nation, you know, in the early 1900s, and then we're the beast, we're the freaks, we're the crazies. It's like, why would anybody want to now be in a space or go out in public and be even more strange? But at the same time, as you've mentioned, in the last 5 to 10 years, there has been a shift, and there's been a shift because Black excellence has been taking center stage, and so we are now in a freer. Doesn't save us from being killed. Doesn't save us from none of that. But in our day-to-day and in our expressive and creative spaces, we are able to feel a little more freer, I guess, to be whatever we want to be. And there's no boxes. And I think a lot of people are spending, a lot of scholars, a lot of really creative people are doing their absolute best to take us out of the box and to say, we're not monoliths. We're not all the same. There's some stuff that we could say in Black culture. This is what we don't do. This is what we do. Those are fun things to kind of unpack. But I have to touch on one movie that I thought was really telling about, and again, this all goes back to how Stan Lee really positioned. He had a plight. I mean, and he really had a purpose in inclusion and trying to bring these stories to the forefront, and again, include all kinds of people. But X-Men was a incredible example of how just the theme of it talked about mutants. Mutants were like Black people. That's what it was. The message in in between the lines was, this is wrong. You can't force people to not be what they are. Like, we need to have a universe that welcomes everybody, right? So it translated, for me at least, and I'm sure many other people, that spoke volumes to inclusion and accepting differences. Differences are beautiful. Differences are cool. And they just, again, they did it in a creative way, in a very otherworldly kind of way. But yeah, we are magical, so I get it. It's that's the beauty of it. So,
one thing I will say that was magical for me, and this is, and I always give props where props are due. When I first went to your con, Hilton, and it was how many years ago was that? I don't know what year it was when I first came to Blerd Con.
I think it was 2018, which was our second run.
Yes. Yeah. So 2018, I arrive at Blerd Con, and Blerd Con is Hilton's show in DC. Guys, it was like nothing I had ever seen before. Like, I don't know what the attendance is, but it was thousands upon thousands of Black people, and everybody has on a costume. Like, everyone is cosplaying. Awesome. Everyone's having fun. It was unlike anything I had ever seen. And I was like, why isn't this at other cons? Like, what is happening? What, like, it was like Wakanda Forever. Like, the movie had just come out.
Yes,
you actually had cast members. You had the Dora Milaje. They were all there. The women were there. It was an amazing experience. And so, but it really opened the door to where I was like, wow, I hope these couple thousand people that are here, I hope that this is something that they do more often for themselves, because people were having the time of their life. And I am big on, we know the trauma that our community faces on a daily. So I'm really huge on us as a community finding ways to, have fun and just detach from this world. Yeah.
It's about community building. I mean, there were a lot of us already in the con going community across the country, but obviously where Black people are is where Black people con. And so you're looking at Chicago, New York, Atlanta, DC, Charlotte, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And so having a convention where all of those people are coming to what is definably a safe space that is kind of pushing that environment that is safe for them to cosplay anything they want, you see this explosion of creativity and people who are working on cosplay specifically for the con. But to your point, what I'm hoping will happen, and what I have seen happen, which is part of the mission, is that the Black nerd community, shouldn't just come to Black nerd conventions. Right. Black nerd community exists at all cons. Yes. So, like, for instance, when you go to, a generic convention, in and around Atlanta or anywhere where there's a kind of a good size, you start to see Black nerds kind of, in bigger groups, either for meetups or photo shoots or theme cosplays. They're coordinating for New York Comic Con. Like, okay, I'm going to have Black Panther and Shuri, and we're going to have the Border Tribe over here. We're going to have the Great Gorillas over here, and we're going to have like all of this on, and we're going to come together. It's going to be 20 of us, and so that kind of community, that communication, that coordination that wasn't happening before. You're starting to see more and more of that, even in the non-blurred spaces, which is the mission. And what we're hoping to have happen is to kind of have, even the non-blurred conventions, the cons that do not have it written in their founding documents to kind of focus on blurred culture, blurred achievement, to still be able to value and to book guests and say yes to panels and workshops that are blurred centric, and, kind of allow the inclusion of us in the spaces that are even definedly not necessarily ours. Because at the end of the day, we're there. And the thing that I think they got from BlerdCon, which might be, I think, one of our contributions, to the nerddom, is that this is something that can be sustainable and builds loyalty and builds, brand awareness, and people like, oh, I had an experience at a convention that I am now attached to. And that might have started at BlerdCon, but it's continuing in all places. Because we're kind of privileged. We're privileged if we live in these big cities. There are people that go to they come to BlerdCon, and somebody coming from New York or Atlanta, they've seen Black nerds, pretty on the regular. But there's people coming from like rural North Carolina, West Virginia, Iowa, who may have never seen more than 4 Black cosplayers in a room. And it can be kind of heavy and emotional for them, and for everybody when we're all coming together and we're like, this is so beautiful, and like, oh my God, I've never seen this cosplay, and this expression in this free environment. And so yes, that definitely is a huge part of the community building, is having that expression and that cosplay.
I totally agree. I mean, I do a show in Atlanta, and of course, like, we have, the Blerds come out, we have a good old time. But you're right. For me, it was really cool because, obviously, our show has a huge Power Ranger community, and our fans, like our diehards, they come to this show because they know they're going to get at least 10 to 12 to 15 Power Rangers. And so it was beautiful to have the Blerd community and the Power Ranger community kind of mix up together. I mean, our after parties were off the chain. It was one of those things where I was like loving it. But for me and Nakia, especially in the second year, and now we're into our third year, we've really been active in getting the Blerd community involved and getting, because Atlanta, it's there, there's so many wonderful shows in Atlanta. And so we were, but it was very important for us to include the Blerd community in our Comic-Con and just make it a safe place to have a good time, and that's what it's all about.
Is this thing on? Let me say
it's on, girl.
If I don't,
she got the big mic now, y'all.
Right. If I don't get an invitation this year,
you are already invited. We are going to be doing the bop at BlerdCon and at Ranger Stop and Pop. Like, it's already on. It's already on your schedule. And you don't know it.
See what happens.
Okay.
Try not to show. See what happens.
I'm
already. Me and Hilton we've already revised your schedule. We just haven't told you yet.
Thank you. Have your people call my people.
Yes.
I got to figure out who I'm gonna be. Like,
I know. I have
stage.
to be there as Karan Ashley, the Yellow Power Ranger, but you get to be anyone you want to be. So I'm gonna live vicariously through you. I always tell people, because people always want us to cosplay, and of course they just want us to do Power Rangers, and I'm like, look. We got the party started in the 90s. We were dressed up in all these costumes. So now it's your turn. So I passed the baton to you, Miss Christi, and I'll help you get dressed. I'll help you do your makeup, all that stuff, girl.
Listen, we are the family here that starts talking about, again, I mentioned Halloween, how crazy we are in January. Like, it's I literally not just a month ago turned to one of my daughter and said, have you thought about what we're gonna be for Halloween? Like, I don't even know. This
it's past February.
This past Halloween, I was 4 things. I did 4 different costumes.
Oh my gosh. You always do horror stuff too, which scares the hell out of me. I can't.
I do.
Yeah, I don't like zombie. I don't like zombies.
I don't either.
Yeah, I'm not a zombie.
People get a little too into it. Like,
You did.
I did Michael Myers because he's my absolute favorite. And I didn't do a mask. I actually painted his face on my face.
So you did Michael Myers from Austin Powers.
No.
That Michael Myers, I get down with it. The other Michael Myers, I don't want to see that.
I'm so scared. Like, I am that person who is scared of a horror film. Like, I can watch something and I have nightmares, and even the stuff that isn't even that scary. Like, I have to admit this, I love Jordan Peele, but I will not watch some of his movies.
Don't you say it. Don't you?
I know. I will have a nightmare and be scared for like a month. I'm in too many, I travel in too many hotels. Like, I'm like, my husband can't go everywhere with me. Like, he tries to, but I know.
That is
I am not going to do it.
I love them because reality is scary. It's scary in real life, so I escape in like the horror genre.
Yeah.
So, but I'm telling you, I you know what's funny is we've seen, here in Dallas, we only see 1 or 2, cons. It's just, I don't see enough, but I'm in downtown, so now I see a little bit more. But I can tell when there's a convention in town. But I have always wanted to be Beatrix Kiddo from Kill Bill. I've always wanted. Let me get it all right. And if I can get in that yellow, if I can get in that yellow suit,
you got until June, July, because Ranger Stop and Pop is in June and Blerd Con is in July. So you got until then to get it together.
I'm gonna put together like 5 or 6. I need to get 5 or 6.
Okay.
Okay. That's good.
Well, Hilton, again, you are inspiring our next topic. I mean, we know I was a huge fan of The Mandalorian. I was obsessed. I watched it in 2.2 seconds. I watched it 2 and 3 times. And then I was so excited for Boba Fett. And it didn't do it for me. I'm one of those people that it just didn't do it for me. And I want to like it. I want to love it. I don't know what's missing. I don't know.
You know what it is. You know what?
Tell me, please, because I've literally
Boba Fett has
existed. I'm yearning
in the minds of Star Wars fans up until very recently.
Yes,
with maybe 3 minutes of screen time total.
Yes,
maybe 2, and with no backstory until you got into the Clone Wars and all that sort of stuff, and even that wasn't Boba Fett on the screen.
Yeah.
So there was this image of who Boba Fett might be that has grown organically and exclusively in the minds of the fans for decades before we actually got to meet Boba Fett on screen and have him dialogue and figure out where his head was at. And there was several things that people were assuming, like, okay, we knew he was badass, and we weren't really sure what his relationship to, the Mandalorian race, culture, and background. We knew he had the armor, but that was being fleshed out. We knew Jango Fett wasn't this and that, and we saw, la 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 la. But we thought of him as like a killer. We thought of him as a badass, and I'm like, you got to remember, he was a bounty hunter. That was all he did. Now he was ominous in the original trilogy because you had this really dope helmet, and you kind of had this these phaser scars and blaster marks on his armor, and he was deadly accurate with all his tools and stuff like that. But that Boba Fett was only about 20, like barely 20 years old. So the Boba Fett that exists on the screen that we're watching now is like pushing 50. And so there's this whole storyline that they are telling to basically flesh out the character. And unfortunately, that storyline is running counter to the collective consciousness in the fandom of who he's supposed to be. So we're not like, oh, he's not going into Tatooine and just blowing everybody he doesn't like up, even though he's capable of doing. Like, what's this? He wants to rule with respect and be this weird gangster type thing, because even in The Mandalorian, he really just comes in to kick a whole lot of people in the ass and get off screen. And so that kind of reinforce that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the fans are right where you are, and I don't blame anybody for that.
Yeah.
I also remind people that this is.
Please remind me, please.
This is a series that is expanding the bounds of the Star Wars television universe, which I think is the most valuable Star Wars.
I do too, because I'm excited for what's coming. Yeah,
right.
I'm excited.
So this him being who he has become as basically the crime lord of Tatooine and all the different systems he runs is going to be a big part of all of the stories that come forth from that. And we're getting new characters. We got we got a Black Wookiee. We got
it was exciting.
Did we? Yeah. We got Fennec, Ming-Na Wen, her character. We've got, there's just so much about this area. Because remember, Tatooine is on the planet that Luke came from. We started the Star Wars universe on this planet. And we know almost nothing about it until this story is being told.
You know what I think it is? It got stuck in the weeds of trying to explain too much. Like for me, that's what I think. I think that's because, like you said, it's trying to establish this story and it's trying to give us all this information that we never got. And for me, it's like it has to be a good balance of giving me that information, but also entertaining me, And so for me, it just got stuck in the weeds of establishing a lot of stuff,
And there were some parts of it that I really wish I were in the writer's room for.
I wish you were too.
I mean, the cyberpunk kids, the cyberpunk teenagers, with their little Cadillac motorbike, hover bikes, and they really were out of place in this world. They just didn't match the color palette and the
Right.
texture. And so they just kind of stood out. It was awkward. I felt like it was forced. Now that was my only real critique of what they were trying to do. I mean, I think for what they were trying to do, they did it. But with that one piece, I was kind of like, did you really need to? I mean, even with that little funky spin your man did to do that last shot, anyone who knows the memes, it's like stuff like that wasn't necessary.
Right. Yeah.
But what really, really stood out was how they tied these two franchises together. The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, and literally gave 2 episodes to the Mandalorian.
Yeah, that was good. What? I mean, I was loving all of that. I was loving that.
Yes.
The Mandalorian, when it came out, I didn't expect it. Like I've always been I always call myself a new age, like a new a new Star Wars fan. Like I'm not like I wasn't alive when the original stuff came out, so it wasn't like I was ready to watch it. But hold on, I did watch it, but it was like the new movies really got me going to where I went back and watched the original stuff, because I was like, oh my gosh, I remember it as a kid, but I don't remember it. And so I'm one of those new age fans, like those ones that the fandom
as hates. Most people are,
because I jumped on the bandwagon here in the last 10 years.
Well, it's the same thing with the Marvel universe.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people who didn't read comics who now are following the stories because of television shows.
We're diehards. Yeah, totally. So they did their job. They got me on. But when The Mandalorian came out, I just didn't know what to expect. Like, I just kind of was like, he's getting a whole show? What is happening? And it was so amazing. I was like, because not only did you get his story and you got his plight, and he's trying to, and then they introduced cute little baby Yoda. Like, you realize that the one thing he's supposed to be hunting down, and, he was like, hold up. And his heart came in and was like, I can't do this. Like, what are we doing? And it just took me on a roller coaster. I was wanting that roller coaster with Boba Fett.
The Mandalorian had the benefit of having no expectations
at
all.
None.
Anyone.
None.
So he had this clear palette to just, because the opening scene, he walks into a bar. It was like a Western. And it was the spaghetti Western style storytelling of this one man, one gun, going from place to place, bringing them in hot, bringing them in cold,
right.
Whatever works. And, you're learning a little bit more about the culture, learning a little bit about his background. You're learning a little bit about the world post Empire.
Yes.
What does it mean? And the thing about The Mandalorian that most people missed, but that I really, really loved, and I'm going to say this and probably piss a lot of 501st fans off.
They get mad easily, let me tell you.
They're not hard to piss off. They're not hard to piss off.
They're not hard to piss off.
This was the series where I saw the first even marginally compelling case to be made for the Empire. Werner Herzog playing the contractor that sends the Mandalorian Din Djarin to go and apprehend or kill Grogu, right? In the beginning 2 episodes of the movie. At one point, he's just kind of going on in his own little head, talking about, look at this world, without the Empire. It's crime, there's poverty, there's suffering, there's no order, there's no certainty. You say this is a better world, and you're like, why didn't anyone else make this case like in the previous 37 movies? Like it was just like Empire, we're gonna go and blow stuff up, and Resistance, no, you're not. And we're kind of like, well, how do you get
bad?
Right, they're just bad guys, stock bad guys, pseudo-Nazi kind of, fascist type thing. Yeah. And this guy actually kind of made like a case that was very simple, and I was kind of like, okay, I could see why some people might prefer, stormtroopers walking up and down the streets than brigands and robbers and thieves and murderers. And you're like,
right.
So that was in and of itself.
It did. I never thought of that. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is a very true point. Very true point. Christy, you've been very quiet. I know why. You jump in here, miss. You jump in here and give us a go. This is the girl who didn't watch it, didn't do her homework. Did you not do your homework? Are you getting demerits? Are you getting reprimanded today, Missy?
Let me tell you how hard. Let me tell you how
Didn't
hard
we give
I
her
go.
homework, Hilton? Didn't I post that a week ago? Didn't you get the homework assignment? Hilton came dressed and ready.
Oh Lord. I know I was prepared for a whole different scene, apparently, a conversation.
She's ready for the conversation about Harry Potter. We didn't talk about Harry Potter yet. Harry Potter wasn't on the agenda, Missy.
I know, right? So listen.
She's trying to be quiet. She's trying to be quiet this whole segment.
Let me tell all of y'all out there, I am not scared of Karen. I just want y'all to know that I am not afraid, because she is out here punking me over not seeing, calling me out because I'm doing head nods like yes.
Yeah, she's like
yes.
Yeah, like, and I was like, hold up, I am not gonna let her skate through this segment and pretend like she did the
presentation from the group project, and that person off to the left is just kind of
and you know what,
the co-signer. She was she was co-signing everything you said, Hilton.
I ain't think about y'all.
Everything you said, she co-signed with a yeah.
That part. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here. Now listen, I have seen parts of The Mandalorian, and first of all, it's so visually stunning, and I can get into that. And listen, you made an announcement talking about you wasn't alive when the first one. Now, hell, I was alive at least when the first one came out.
I wasn't alive like the first.
She was a little Grogu when it came out. She was a little Grogu.
I was a little Grogu.
Oh, well, I
was saying me and Grogu was being born.
It was in the 70s. Well, I thought I was around, but here's the thing. I grew up watching the originals, so I'm familiar. Like, I remember going to the movie theater even to see one of the Star Wars, as a kid in the 80s, my favorite era. But I have not finished it, and no, I have not started Boba Fett. But it's crazy because we talked about this before in another episode where I'm like, I'm just happy to see it all come out. Like, yay, it's something else. It's because I love the idea of expanding those universes. I just love that. I think that these are classic, pop culture classics, and I am all for, as long as you keep making it better. Now, hearing you talk about, especially Karen, when you said I just didn't do it for me, it almost sounds like how we talked about in another episode about Black Widow, and just how it's like, did that necessarily deserve like its own series or show? But then Hilton, you followed that up with, but it's it's about the expansion.
Yeah,
it's about the bigger picture. And I get that. I totally get that. I get that. So it makes me want to.
Well, I mean, and I think this kind of has that same feel to it, where everyone's not unanimously in love with the way it was told and everything about the Mandalorian is a bigger hit than any of the movies or any of that stuff.
It blew it all up.
The Book of Boba Fett.
Huge.
Actually, you'll find if you ask 10 people, half of them will be in Karen's side, and half of them will be like, "Oh, we just love everything about it."
Yeah.
I made a post last week because it kind of hit me. It kind of hit me just out of left field. It's like what kind of a spoiled world do we live in where we get to sit around and complain that one of our two Mandalorian television series is better than the other? Like, that is some high class nerd problems right there.
Yeah.
It's like,
first world nerd problem.
Right. Like, listen, look, in the 80s, there was like a Christmas special or something that was horrible for Star Wars, but there was an animated scene, right, where Boba Fett was on a dragon and helped someone find where the party was or whatever, and he was on screen for like all of 36 seconds, right? And people lost their shit. Like, people were like, "Oh my god!" And it was horrible animation and the voice acting, and it was just like, ugh. But people just seeing him on the screen was just such a big thing.
Yeah. Again,
projection onto the character, that which was not being given to us as far as background and backdrop. But yeah, I mean, these are stories that if the Book of Boba Fett had been a movie, there'd be even more complaints, because see, just like Karen had said, the Black Widow movie, would it have been better as a 5 or 6 part miniseries on Disney Plus, or was it better to put it on the big screen?
Yeah.
And that's an open debate. I think there's points on both sides of that.
Yeah,
totally.
I think that Disney Plus, I mean, let's just say it's all Marvel and Disney. They're doing the same things. They share all the same directors. John Favreau is
they're
the
all
guy.
locked in.
Yeah, John Favreau directed and wrote like half the Marvel movies. Yeah, and he came in and wrote and directed like 90% of The Mandalorian. So there's commonalities in there. Really good. And he is just, I mean, he is a gift from God. Like he really.
Yeah, thank you, John.
John Favreau. We are not worthy.
Seriously, we are not worthy. We are not worthy. Well, guys, it has been such a fun discussion. I want to dedicate this episode to my personal friend Jeremy Bulloch, who was Boba Fett in the original movies. We lost him. We lost him last year, and I just I wished he one thing that we said when we saw that the book of Boba Fett was coming out. The first thing we thought was, gosh, we wish Jeremy was here to see it and to just be able to be a witness to this, that character getting a whole series. And and he was such a kind man. And I remember we used to do a lot of cons together, and him and his wife invited us over to his house. And I think that was the first time I had ever been to London. And well, it wasn't the first time I've been to London, but been to a neighborhood in London. Right. And, gone to someone's home and had tea and had we were having tea and it was such a great experience. And we always talk about that. Yeah. That it was he invited us into his home. So this episode is dedicated to Jeremy Bulloch because he is the OG. He is the original. Guys, continue to watch. Subscribe to our channel. We are the BOP, the Blerd official podcast. Tune in again for a hilarious rant and in these first world nerd problems that we are having here on this show. And Christy better do her homework.
Oh my God. Y'all gonna stop calling me out. I'm telling you.
We love you. Hilton laughed harder than I've ever seen him laugh when I called you out.
At my expense.
She was going to make it through the episode without getting called out, and then he hit the brakes.
She was waiting. She was waiting.
She didn't want to. She was, oh yeah. I was like, this girl.
I can do that very well.
I love you guys. I love you. So tune into our next episode. We can't wait to see you again. We are the BOP. The BOP. See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.